before we start creating points, or even after we created points, we have to set up our control points. Control points are typically provided to us from the GC, and typically they are offset from a particular column line. So for this exercise, we'll go ahead and use column lines to create our control points. So what I want to first do is offset the column lines that will be given to us. So for instance, the GC came back and mentioned that off of column D and 6, so D6 and B6, they're offset 2 feet towards the inside of the building. So he's given us 2 control points in the building to do layout. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and do an offset of my control lines, or of my grid. So I'm going to do an offset of 2 feet, and I'm going to select my lines in. Now some of these lines don't necessarily intersect because of the different line type. So I'm going to go ahead and change these line types to a continuous type. Okay. So now all I got to do now is come and offset B on this side. And if the color you see that you want, if you want to differentiate the color from the original grid, you can go ahead and change the color as well. And I'll go ahead and make this yellow because of my my black background here. So depending on your background, you might want to choose a color for that pleases your eye a little better. So we'll go with a white yellow one here. All right. So now I do have my 2 control lines. And my control lines can actually be left there after I create my control points, or you can go ahead and delete them. So to add a control point, we want to go ahead and go back into the Field Points tab. And you see under the Field Points panel, we have Place Control Points. And Place Control Point, it's pretty much not too much different than adding any other point inside of Field Points, but here, again, we want to specify a category. So if I did go ahead and assign a category for control points, then I can go ahead and choose that. That way I know which entity to use for my control points. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and look at the drop down and notice that there's only one 3D option. We went ahead and change our settings and remove some other 3D points. So I'm going to go ahead and use 3D cones for my control points. For my description, I want to go ahead and put on there a little bit more depth. So I'll say control points, and you can go ahead and put in the actual number. So you can say control point, and we'll do B6. We want to go ahead and specify what the layer that is going to go on. So in this case, I'll scroll down here and specify TFP controls. If I want to go ahead and place annotation, I want to go ahead and set that to automatic, none, or manual, depending on which one you want to use. We'll leave it at automatic. What is my prefix? And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and place them as CP for control points. And then we have the number. Now, next to the number here, we have the option to actually get the next number. So as we're adding points and we forget the actual point number, we can go ahead and do a refresh by clicking on that button, and it'll generate the next number in the sequence that's available, depending on the prefix that you specify. The elevation or the placement of the actual point, we have different options. So we can go ahead and specify the object snap elevation at a distance from object or at a fixed elevation itself. We're going to go ahead and just snap to the object snap itself and not worry about elevation for this exercise. And then lastly, the attributes. So in the settings, we talked about customizing 5 attributes and renaming them correctly. So here you can go ahead and enter the value for those attributes if you care to do so. All right, so once we have set up our dialog box, we're going to go ahead and select place. And I'm going to go, this is B6. So I'm going to go up to B6 here. And I'm going to select that intersecting point. And obviously, you need to make sure that your object snaps are turned on. So we'll go ahead and place control point 1. And I want to go ahead and change that now to the next name. So in this case, this is D6. So down below on the command line, you'll see there says settings on there. So I'll go ahead and type S for settings and hit enter. Bring back the dialog box, and I can go ahead and change the description here now to say D6 instead of B6. Hit a place, and go ahead and place that next control point there. And once we finish creating the points, we can go ahead and hit enter to go ahead and finish that command.